Hi everyone, it's Eddie here. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to start a series of watercolor videos. And the reason is that I'm getting back to it, and because I used to do it constantly nonstop, and I have some beautiful work to show for it. But I've gotten really out of practice, and so, the last couple of weeks I've been, here and there, kind of playing around with my watercolors and my papers, and just trying to get the feel back for having, the brush in my hand and holding it in the right way, and playing with the colors, and kind of getting a feel for the ones that I like, the combos I like, and all that good stuff. Anyway, but I've been getting, since starting with mixed media, I've been getting more into, color theory and that sort of thing. So what I did is I went on the old Google and I looked up color palettes, because what I did is I bought a small little container here with 12 half pans for watercolors, and it's just a little tin. You get them on Amazon for a couple bucks. I made a swatch card to go along with it. This is on watercolor paper. So I wanted to make a set that was portable, convenient, but also had all the right colors for you to combine and make whatever other color you wanted. These are actually from tubes. I mainly work out of tubes. And so what I did is I filled the half pans with the paints, and I'm letting them dry. They're still a little bit wet, but they work perfectly fine. So this is the 12 color watercolor palette. You want a warm and cool versions of the 3 primary colors: violet red, a warm and a cool green, 2 earth tones, and a black or neutral gray. So what I've decided, so I laid out here the different colors, and I was going to swatch them on this, and I decided I swatched on this little thing here, on this little card. So for my cool yellow, I picked a cadmium yellow, and for my warm yellow, I chose an Indian yellow. Most of these are Turner watercolors from Jerry's Artorama, but I'll list all the info in the description box. For my 2 reds, for my warm red, I chose the Turner red, and then for the cool red, a rose red. Rose is really great to have on your palette for your watercolors. For my red violet, or violet red, I chose quinacridone magenta, because it's got the feel of the violets going into the violet, but it's still on the reddish side. And then into my blues here, I've got my cool blue, and that's a Prussian blue. I think that's a blue everybody should have in their watercolor palette. And also ultramarine blue. The ultramarine blue is a warm blue, and I don't know if you could see it. I'll try to hold it close. It has some red hues to it. Now, these 2 colors are whole bean watercolors, and so is the burnt umber. Those 3 are whole bean watercolors. Then there's Viridian green. So it's not too light, it's not too dark, it's just right. It mixes great with all sorts of other colors, and it creates great colors for when you're painting water scenes or the ocean, waves, stuff like that. Then I have a sap green, it's one of those greens that you will find in nature in most places in the world. So it's a great color to have on your palette. Then there's your burnt umber and a raw sienna. Those 2 are my earth tones. And then instead of black or neutral gray, instead of black, I chose Payne's gray, because I think it has a little bit more interest. It's easy, you can mix it easier with other colors without, just completely obliterating the color. Because sometimes when I use black, it's just like, it just muddies out my mix. So I'm going to use those 12 colors, keep those in my little tin, keep that in my little tin with my paints. See, I took all sorts of notes. I wrote all sorts of stuff down. So for example, things like Cool yellows have a green bias, like the lemon yellow. If you look at a lemon yellow and you start watering it down, it's got a green background to it, right? So colors like lemon, spectrum lemon, cad yellow light, Hansa yellow light, transparent yellow, those are your cooler yellows. Now your warm yellows are your cadmium yellow, deep Hansa yellow, new gamboge, aerolite yellow, deep Indian, or aerolite yellow deep, Indian yellow, or quinacridone gold, which I really like, but I don't have, if I get another 2 half pants, I'll put some in here because I really do like that, but I didn't put it in this set. You know, so it goes on and on. There's all kinds of great information. It's all out there. And so what I'm going to do in the next part of the video is I'll show you how I put this together, and then I'm going to show you different techniques to create cool little watercolors. I did them small just because they're just easier to show you and present. But there's different techniques here that I want to show you. This one is with plastic and foam stamps and ink. This one is with, these two are with alcohol. Now this one is line drawing, and this one has acrylic markers. And then this one is with salt. And then this one here is acrylic marker, and then acrylic marker on a foam stamp, and then paint on bubble wrap, watercolor on bubble wrap, set down. So grab your watercolors and do some watercoloring with me in just a moment. Okay, so for the first technique I'd like to show you, just take a piece of watercolor paper. This is the Hippie Crafter watercolor paper. It is a heavyweight, 140 pound, 330 GSM natural white, acid-free, cold press, which means it has a texture to it, okay? So I've used most of that pad, but so I like to lay it down. I'm using one of my acrylic sheets that I use on with my gel plates because when I do watercolor, it helps, especially when you're doing a wet technique, it helps to keep the paper wetter longer. I was going to use another word, but I don't think a lot of people like that word, the M word. It keeps your paper wetter longer, so it allows you to not have to work so quickly, because sometimes, depending on the surface that you're watercoloring on, it can take away the moisture a lot quicker. Oh, you see, I said it. Well, oh well. So the first technique is alcohol. But first, we got to create a background in order to get the technique to work. So what I'm going to do is let's pick out some colors. We have the palette here that we put together with our 12 colors. So let's see here. Let's start. First of all, I need some, you know what? I don't even have water in my spray bottle. So let me do that first. Okay, so I'm just going to spray some of these. So give them a little spray. This has been sitting literally out in the open to dry for about 3 days. So, but some of them are still a little bit tacky, but that's okay. They're just fine. So don't think you did anything wrong if, you do this. So I'm going to take a larger wash brush. This is number 10 from silver. It's number 10 silver from Black Velvet. If you can see that, the number there is 3000S. And these are beautiful natural fiber watercolor brushes. Very comfortable to use. They hold water really well. So let's get our brush wet. And so let me put our little color swatch paper there. And let's see, I think I want to do a wet on wet technique. So let's first take our water, just plain old clear water, and let's wet paper. You could use wet on dry as well, but I just think this is just going to give me a little bit more time to play. So all I'm doing is swiping back and forth and basically getting the paper wet enough and get the moisture on the paper even, is what I'm trying to say. Words are hard, man. That should be enough. Get a little bit down there. And this is just washi tape that I'm using. Just the basic old washi tape, nothing fancy. Got some paper towel here to dab my brush in so I don't put too much water. But for this technique, I'm not worried about that. So let's see. Let's start with this Viridian. Let's get a little Viridian green. Get it all up in there. Okay. I want to take a little bit of this ultramarine blue. Maybe some of the Prussian blue. Yeah, that Prussian is very strong. So let me get some more of this Viridian. I want it to kind of look like an oceany color, turquoisey. All right. And then just start laying down color. There's no, And the wet on wet technique also allows you to put down color without creating hard lines. see the watercolor just spreads out nicely there. And I should have dropped the yellow in first, but let's just drop in some of this lemon yellow. Just here and there. Allow it to mix and bloom. Don't worry if it seems like it's too wet. You can always take some off with paper towel, but I think you'd be fine. Let's play around with that. You can even take, so I like to put it on something like this that I can pick up and move, because you can move this and create cool things with your watercolor. And maybe we shall, what do we have? Maybe a little bit of this ultramarine, but just on its own. Drop some here and there. Just give it a little variety. And remember, the ultramarine has more of a red base. It's red biased, so you're gonna see hues of that, hints of that rather, show up when you put it down. And that's why it's important to swatch your paints, whatever it is, acrylic or watercolor or oils, and your pencils too, just so you know what they're going to look like when they're actually being used, and not just go by what's on the tube. That makes sense, because as you know, many different manufacturers have different formulas and all that fun stuff, so keep that in mind. All right, and I want to get some of this rose red. It's still a little bit, it's more on the cool side. This is our cool red. Just gonna mix it with that ultramarine that was in there. Maybe add a little bit more. Give us some, like a purplish red. Let's drop some of that. And I'm aware that if I mix the, green and yellow, it's green and red, it can turn brown. But I'm trying to avoid the more greener spots, but I'm not too worried. So you get some cool, and you notice how this particular paint spreads nicely. It spreads this. And that was mainly the Turner Rose Red that I used. And just a little bit of the ultramarine blue from Holbein. See, sometimes your tape doesn't want to play nice and it comes up, but that's okay. So I think at this point, I'm gonna come in, get some alcohol. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol. I'm gonna get a pipette. Here we are. And then, oh, see, that was just that was just from the splatter from that. So watch what we do. Watch what happens. You get these really cool blooming effects with the alcohol. Do some small ones. Ooh, that was a big one. I figure let it all flow out and see what happens. Let me do some here. Go. A little bit there. A little bit there. Okay. So once that dries, you can come back in and do some work with acrylic markers if you want, or you could leave it like this. I'm gonna take my heat gun and dry it up. Okay. So what let's do, let's get some acrylic markers, which are let's get some markering. Let's call it markering. Okay, so this is dried. I removed all the salt that I put on it. And as you can see, it creates such a really cool, ethereal looking patterns. And that was only table salt, but you can use other kinds of salts. Different types of salt will leave different types of patterns. So, you know, try it with a flake salt, like a Malden's. Try like a rock salt, not a rock salt, a kosher salt, which is a little grain. Himalayan salt. Try anything you could find and see what results you get. So with this one, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do some stamping on it with acrylic paint. And some of these stamps, these are from PM Artist Studio. They are available now. And I want to do a combination of this color shift from Folk Art. It's blue violet flash, sorry. Do a little bit here, come on. Oops, that's too much. That's too much. I do have a spatula here. Let me scoop some of that back in. Yeah, that's good. Here, let me get a little bit more because I also want to use some iridescent graphite acrylic. This is from Liquitex. And let's see. I just think that purple will look really good against this background, and then the black or the iridescent graphite will go well too. Ooh, this is noisy today, huh? All right, so let's start with the round one. So with the foam, these foam stamps, they're great to use with acrylic paint. Just make sure you wash them immediately after you use them, so they don't, so the paint doesn't dry on there, because that'll ruin it. So I'm gonna start right here in the middle. And you hold it, not too hard, just press evenly. See how good that looks. I may just stick with this one and just do the whole thing with this stamp and go off the page. That's okay, that's why the tape is still on, so I can go off the page, but it won't affect the white border we created with the tape. You can even take your brayer, just go over your stamp like that if you wish. Okay. And do one here. Love it. Here. Okay. And then I'm going to do maybe half of one up here. Yas. And then maybe this one over here. And I think that is going to be perfect. Very easy, very simple, but you have a really cool, dynamic piece of art. Now, you could certainly add more details if you wanted to. I think at this point, I'm just going to let this dry and just remove the washi tape. If you find that the washi tape is sticking to the paper and it looks like it's going to rip, take your heating tool or blow dryer and just heat that section up for a couple seconds, and usually that will release the tape easily so that you don't ruin your painting. See, that's stuck like that, but it's no big deal. Another good trick is if you get something like this where the paint has seeped under the tape and gone into white border, simply just take your white acrylic pen. This is my Posca, and just go over it. Like it never happened. Isn't that gorgeous? That's really, really pretty. So for this next one, I'm going to show you what you can do with a piece of plastic to create patterns on your paper. So let me tape this down. Let's just use this one. Depending, the border is your personal choice. You don't have to have one. I kind of prefer it, but you don't have to do the border thing. But I also find when it's taped down, it's easier to work on the paper, and that's just from my experience. Oops, I missed a little spot there. A little more, a little more. Okay. So for this, I'm going to do a wet and wet technique. So I've got my clean water. Get my paper dry. Come on, get down there. See, I have ink on my hands and it's getting on the paper. You probably can't see it, but I can see a little bit. Doesn't matter. Don't be afraid to add water. This is meant to hold water. This kind of paper. Now, if you're using a cotton watercolor paper, those will definitely be, great at holding the water and giving you a nice surface. This is cellulose, basically, this particular paper, which is a byproduct of trees. But it works just as well, especially for beginners or intermediary, or if you're just practicing. Don't spend a lot of money on watercolor paper that you're just gonna, make weird stuff on and you're not gonna like it, or you're just experimenting. Or like when I not doodle, but like when I practice, want to practice like things like my brush strokes or what have you, or swatch out, I'll use like a pad like this. This is the Canson mixed media pad, and it's really nice. It's a lot of paper. It holds up well. Last night I was swatching the sap green from my little kit here, from my little set, and this is just a sap green mixed with all different colors in the same palette. Did I do that other? Oh, I didn't do that one on here. Yeah, that was another notebook. That was something else. These are just some, this is actually a cleanup. I was doing something on here and I just scooped it up with this paper and then just came in with the pen and drew out the shape so it looks like hills and mountains. Okay, set that away. Before this dries on you, Eddie, let's decide on a color. Some of the burnt umber. Let's just start with those two colors. And all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wet my brush, pick up some paint, a little more water, and just start filling in some spots. And then let's go over to the burnt umber. And if you add burnt umber to the Prussian, you're gonna get a more gray color, which is cool. See, it's like a green, a gray with a greenish tinge. Okay. Let's get more just the regular umber, or burnt umber. And I'm just laying down color. There's no method to my madness. I'm gonna take some more of that umber, or the Prussian with a little bit of umber. Just try to keep this wet as possible. Okay. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take some plastic wrap, and you're gonna put it over your painting. But you want to kind of manipulate it so that you get some cool shapes when it dries, as it dries. So I'm trying, oh, see, it's stuck. I cut it and it just curled on itself. So let's see here, let's see what we can do. get all this in here. So you see, hopefully when this is dry, we'll get a really cool pattern out of it. And then you can do something on top. I'm trying to get this. All right, dry. All right, I'll put it to the side. Okay, so this is the next one I'm going to show you. I'm just going to do a quick background. I'm going to dry it up, and then I'll show you the technique that you can use to make this really cool, or even cooler. Again, I'm just washing in some color. Not really thinking too much about when and where, just kind of playing around. And I've got some Indian yellow. That was Turner red, and this is the Indian yellow. And again, this is, you can do wet on wet or wet on dry. I'm doing wet on dry at the moment. And let me get some more of this yellow in here. Come on, yellow. And then I think a little more of this red. And if you want to make it more intense, you certainly can. Just that, obviously, I would add more paint to the water. So that's what I'm doing here. Just wanted to punch up the red. All right, let me do a little more of the yellow and go in there. And these are just straight colors. I haven't mixed anything with them except for just the water, obviously. All right, so quick and easy background. That's all you need to do. The one thing I am going to do is I'm going to take some of this alcohol and just spray it from high up like Christmas. I mean, that's instant gratification right there. Look at that. All right, I'm going to let that, I'm going to hit that with the heat gun, and then I'll come back and show you the other technique. What I like to do is take some bubble wrap, and I'm just going to take a piece of this, a couple of pieces off. I had scissors. Where did they go? Here they are. Just going to cut some pieces. Cut them in different shapes, you know. Make them interesting. My poor nephew, he came over the other day and he saw this laying on the table because I was practicing on another one. And he started popping it. I said, no, I need that. He goes, oh, so sorry, Tio. I thought that you put it up because you know I love to pop these. So I gave him some to pop. Cannot deny someone bubble wrap to pop, you know. Okay, let me do some. Just gonna take this whole bit off. Not easy trying to cut this bubble wrap, I'll tell you that for sure. All right, so what you're gonna do, make a little pile over here. And first I want to decide what paint I want to use. And let me use my flat brush here. I think I like this mix I made up here. It's a little Prussian blue with the Turner red. But I want it a little thicker than normal. Just a little bit. A little more red. So what you do is you're going to take a piece of your bubble wrap and you're going to paint the bubbles. So just go across, and it may not look like much paint, but there is, trust me. And then just lay these down on your painting. Okay, for now, I'm going to leave that alone, let that dry. Let me take a look at our other one. All right, so this is not doing what I had hoped, which is basically, I mean, it kind of did, creating, you know, these little designs in here, but you get the idea, right? And then all I did was come in with a couple of stamps and stamped on there, and voila, you can do all sorts of stuff on here. I'm going to give this a quick dry. So here's what let's do. Let's take this stamp, and we're going to do it on here, but this time I'm just going to use ink. Use this blue ink. This is Ranger Archival ink in cobalt. And because it's a small little pad, but it packs a punch, I'm just gonna take the pad to the stamp. And we'll start dropping some pattern on here. Go, it's a little faint, but that is okay. Don't mind that. Because with some of these, you can come back in and kind of, you know, fill in details and, you know, do all sorts of cool stuff. But personally, sometimes I have to leave something to sit for a while, a few days or whatever, and then come back to it and then go, oh, I can do this with this, I can do this, you know. So I don't always, you know, finish one piece in one day, obviously. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there like that. And I walk away and then come back and figure out what I need or what the painting needs or whatever. Ink on this side should be enough. Yersh. And then we just got to do one more spot. Get this up here, this way. Voila. Bing, bang, boom. She's done. And then we can get some, let's get some markers here. I've got my little plastic box with my markers in it. And I'll come back over it. Also, if you have a white gouache paint like this, you can use that too. Let me show, for example, put a little bit on here. A little brushy. Water. You can paint over these as well with the gouache. All right. One more corner. And the reason I use the gouache, the white gouache, is because it's a chalkier paint, so that it allows you to cover your little sins. Know what I mean? Okay. So I think that was fun. Let me grab the other one. That is has the bubble wrap on it. This shouldn't take too long. So let's see here. Yeah. Very cool. So you get this really cool textures all around. All right, and then you come in. Let's use my black prospector bag for this one. Do. I'm going to call that. Hopefully you've learned some cool new techniques, and if not, hopefully you this will refresh your memory on some watercolor techniques, and go out there and you make some fun watercolors. If you do, let me know. Drop me a link with your with where you posted. I would love to see them, or you can tag me in them, the post, and I will check it out. So there you go. There's the one with the bubble wrap, some acrylic marker, and then we had sprayed alcohol on the paint too while it was wet. There's that. This is the one here we just did. And with the plastic technique, not as great of patterns as I wanted it to be. But you know, it takes practice and patience. I'm not patient. Put a little acrylic marker on there as well. And this one, probably my favorite, with the spiral stamp and the background textured with salt. And here's another one. This one we did alcohol as well. And I made these into flowers. And then this was a two-color background, and I used a foam stamp, the Dahlia stamp by Sophia. And she is a designer alongside me with over at PM Artist Studios. You can find her stuff there. And then I used some gold pen to highlight the inner bit, the you know what they're called. And I think it's really cool. It's understated, but it's beautiful. I like it. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you get something out of it. If not, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate you all. I love you all. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe buttons. Talk to you soon. Bye.